It was past 9 o'clock at night. Lu Ming packed up his things, picked up his briefcase and walked out of the office. It has been raining in the past few days, and it has been raining endlessly for more than a week. The sound of rain is very annoying. The heavy rain not only affects the sight, the air also becomes very humid, and the skin becomes sticky. It was very irritating to work overtime every day, but now it is continuous such weather, he feels like he is going crazy. Especially when I go to bed at night, I always feel a little uneasy in my heart, and I subconsciously think about depression. He felt that he might be ill, and it is necessary to go to the hospital for an examination. Should be to see a psychiatrist. After returning home, he threw the umbrella aside, took off his shoes and entered the house. The light was on in the bathroom, and there was the sound of running water. Looked down at the shoe cabinet at the door, where there was a pair of women's shoes. This is his girlfriend. Didn't you say that you can't come? Lu Ming said. Before, he said that he would let his girlfriend come to accompany him these few days, but she said that the aunt would not come if it is inconvenient to come over the past few days. My aunt just left in the afternoon. A woman's voice came from the bathroom, and you don't know that there is a gloomy rainy day, and there was thunder in the middle of the night, which scared people to death. I told you to move in. I'll think about it again. The woman walked out of the bathroom. I'm in the room. You should also wash it quickly. Lu Ming smiled and walked into the bathroom. The pressure has been so great recently, it just happened to vent tonight. After washing quickly, Lu Ming couldn't wait to go to bed. There is only a small lamp on in the room, and the light looks a little dim. Took out his cell phone and checked the time. Originally, he wanted to swipe the phone for a while, but the woman's hand kept rubbing his body. Dead ghost, what kind of gentleman are you pretending to be a gentleman? Boom! The sky is rolling with thunder, and the night is lit up with lightning and thunder. The white thunder light spilled into the room, and under the white light at that moment, the room looked strange inexplicably. Lu Ming shuddered suddenly by thunder, and the woman even hugged his arm and retracted tightly into his arms. My dear, this thunder, I'm so scared. Lu Ming took a breath. Seeing his girlfriend, Xiao Niaoan, all the pressure accumulated in his heart felt swept away and healed instantly. Don't be afraid, I am here. Lu Ming's cell phone was shining shiningly, and a message popped out, Husband, my stomach hurts and I miss you. In the next second, the unmanned mobile phone automatically sent out a message to reply to the past, Bayo, should I go over to accompany you? No. My parents are at home. I'll just talk about it well, then you drink more hot water. Darkness struck, engulfing the entire room in an instant. At 11:45 last night, a man in Pinghu community, Lu, died at home. The condition of death was a bit strange. The specific cause of death is temporarily unknown. It is suspected of excessive indulgence. Experts and relevant departments are conducting further investigations. According to statistics, this was the third victim in the Spring City within half a month. The dead were all males with the same death. It was preliminarily determined to be a serial homicide. The murderer was most likely a female and more than one person. The Federal Public Security Bureau for Humanity in the Eastern Continent solemnly reminds the majority of male compatriots to avoid going out at night, take protective measures in the house, and install monitoring in the bedroom, living room, toilet, and other places. Today is different, boys should also protect themselves. In the room, when I was doing push-ups while listening to the news report of the Spring City TV station. When 100 standard push-ups were done, a reminder sounded in my mind. Arm strength +1, is it this kind of news again? Wenzi thought to himself, it's probably those dirty things that did it again, right? This is the third one, I don't know if she will find me, I am a little looking forward to it. Wenzi's mouth turned upside down, showing a smile. Speaking of which, Wenzi is not originally from this world. He was playing a puzzle game of overcast marriage that day, but he didn't know what was going on. I just crossed over, the world looks pretty normal, and after 2 months, nothing abnormal happened. Until that day, a meteor shower fell, and one of them went off track and hit He Wenzi directly. It seems to have hit it, but it doesn't seem to hit it completely. After waking up, the world became a little weird. In the first few days, there have been some horror videos related to the weird, or various other messy, weird news. At the same time, I will see some people who say they have awakened superpowers. He seems to have caught up with the spiritual recovery of this world, or a spiritual recovery. Because there are so many kinds of news that have never been seen before, just like bamboo shoots springing up after a rain, a blowout burst out and swept the entire network in an instant. During that time, I swiped short videos at random, and almost all of them came out of that kind of video. Read a post, visit a forum, and almost all of them are said. This makes people feel weird, as if it was deliberately shown to them. But these news were quickly suppressed, and more than a month has passed since the meteor shower, and the initial discussion boom has gradually faded. As for what everyone thinks in their hearts nowadays, it is unclear. But He Wenzi knows very well in his heart that there are really those things in this world. Because he has already met. Speaking of it, I woke up after the meteor hit my face. He Wenzi felt that there was something more in my body. After some research, I found that the usage of this thing is actually quite simple. As long as a certain aspect of one's body is stimulated, the related attributes in this aspect will increase randomly. For example, after a while, hardness +1, endurance +1, length +1, or fertility +1, etc. One of these attributes will be added randomly, and it is also possible that both attributes will increase at the same time, but the probability is very small. Just like doing push-ups just now, after 100 standard push-ups, the arm strength is +1. Do 100 sit-ups, you may get +1 waist strength. Of course, if it is mentally stimulated, then the mental power will also increase. So, I have such abilities, so those people on the internet who said that they have awakened some ability are not completely without credibility. After understanding this, He Wenzi began to exercise himself frantically, and at the same time developed a training program for himself. First of all, at least 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, at least 200 leapfrogs, 200 squats, and no less than 10 kilometers running every day. It was actually quite difficult to persevere at the beginning. After all, after this whole set, ordinary people would not be able to stand up. Even if he stood up, it would be useless the next day. Fortunately, with this ability, the physical fitness has been improving all the time, so why did he manage it? At the beginning, if he felt that his body was really at its limit and could no longer support it, he would also choose to take a break. I remember that 10 standard push-ups were able to get +1 arm strength, but by now 100 are needed. It can be seen that his physical fitness has really improved a lot. Having said that, the mental power seems to have encountered a bottleneck, and it has not been improved for a long time. Because at the beginning, he used certain movies that would swell people's blood, or were scary to make his spirit fluctuate and stimulate. There were still some effects at the beginning, but as the mental power increased, those films had no effect. Until one day, he met her. Thinking back now, what happened with the female ghost is really unsatisfactory, thinking and thinking again. There is no way, that feeling is so cool, so refreshingly straight up into the sky, it makes people want to stop. I have to say that the existence of a Piao is really surprisingly useful for He Wenzi to brush attribute points. This is why He Wenzi just expected that the female ghost who caused the incident mentioned in the news came to him. The last time I just did something with the car accident female ghost in the suburbs, He Wenzi's attribute value has increased a lot. www.mentalnovel.com. The long-lasting mental power has increased again. And it is not a single increase, it is the addition of several attributes at once. Mental power, cell activity, metabolism, blood, agility, explosive power, endurance, bone density, self-healing ability, hardness, cardiopulmonary function, strength, yang fire, reaction speed, physical fitness, waist strength, flexibility, endurance, mental resistance. Sex. The lowest of these attributes all increased by at least 3 points at that time, and the other increased by 5 points. Has added so many attribute points at the same time, which can be said to be an all-round improvement. This kind of refreshing feeling is really indescribable in words. Why did you ask yourself how to exercise? The chance of increasing 2 attributes at one time is very small, and you only add 1 or 2 points at a time. However, the use of ghosts to brush points, not to mention the scary variety of attribute points, the minimum number of added attribute points is 3 points. The gap is immediately apparent. So, ghosts or something, I like it the most. Therefore, since that time, he Wenzi will go to the female ghost as long as the time is up every day. After all, she can't show up during the day, and can only go by at night. Although not every time in the past, the attribute value can be improved, but a few times after every 3 to 5, it is also quite rewarding. He Wenzi thought to himself, while looking at the time, it was already past 5 o'clock in the evening. It's almost time to pass. He Wenzi nodded, turned off the TV, put on his clothes and walked out of the house. I don't know if she misses me. Pink and tender newcomer new book, need everyone's collection, monthly pass, investment, referral ticket care and support friends who have a book list, add a book list by the way. In this world, he Wenzi's identity is that his parents have died, he has a car and a house, but his savings are not so much. In addition, after graduating from high school at the age of 18, his parents both passed away, and now he failed the college entrance examination. Under the double blow, he began to close himself. Since then, the house is reluctant to go out, completely isolating himself from the outside world. The isolation lasted for more than 2 years, and he became alone in the true sense of the word. If something really happened, he didn't even have a friend to find. Now he Wenzi has crossed over. He doesn't have any special views on his current identity. If you have to say it, it should be as handsome as it used to be. And the name hasn't changed, it really has no effect. Plus the world is already like this, ghosts are real. In this case, it is difficult to guarantee that there will be some other things. Then it is the key to improve your own strength as soon as possible. After all, who knows what will become afterwards? As for money, there are still tens of thousands of deposits left. As long as they don't spend randomly, they can support a period of time. It really doesn't work. I can only find a job at that time. After all, I can't afford to eat. At the beginning, the body of the original owner was very weak. He himself is quite nerdy and doesn't exercise much, and later isolated himself from the outside world for more than 2 years. With no sunshine all day long and without any exercise at all, how can this body get better? Fortunately, after such a long time of training, with the attribute points provided by the acquired abilities, all aspects of physical fitness have risen linearly. Invincible didn't dare to say, but it's okay to hit the original self and kill at least 10 with one punch. This is not an exaggeration of He-Wen, after all, it has been more than a month since the ability was acquired. He exercises every day, which is a source of attribute points, and the other is the female ghost. Although it is a wave of improvement every 3 times, the improvement brought by the female ghost is more. Even if it is once every 3 days, according to the lowest one, 3 points for each attribute, 1 month can increase each attribute by 30 points. It's 45 o'clock in a month and a half. What's more, not every time it is 3 points, there are also 5 points for various attributes, plus the attribute point bonuses that you have exercised, and the gains are more than that. However, how much has been improved, why haven't I counted them, and there is no attribute panel to see. But one thing is certain, and that is definitely a lot more than the estimated 45 points. Moreover, He Wenzi feels like he has ushered in the second physical development. As we all know, the developmental span of boys is actually quite long. Some people can grow a centimeter or two after they reach the age of 26 or 7. He Wenzi is only 20 years old now, and I don't know if it's the reason for the recent exercise, his height has soared. It turned out that this body was only 175, but now it's 1.8 meters tall. It's only been more than a month. Thinking about this, he went downstairs and ate something, and then packed a braised elbow and a bowl of rice. Immediately went to the funeral supplies store to buy some joss sticks, paper money and the like. Riding a bicycle, he Wenzi gradually left the city and came to a remote intersection. It took nearly an hour to ride this road, and the leg strength also gained 2 attribute points. It is now past 6 o'clock, and the sky is much darker than before. This place is very remote, there are no other people around, and even no one can see it at this time. To put it bluntly, it is a ghost place where birds don't shit. The dim light came down, but it couldn't penetrate the small woods on both sides of the road, and it looked extremely gloomy inside. A gust of wind blew, and the trees in the forest rustled as if they were scratching something. He Wenzi would know this place, mainly because he ran 10 kilometers before, and he ran aimlessly, and ended up here, and then met the female ghost. Put the braised pork elbow and rice on the dirt on the side of the road. There are a lot of gravel piles. If the sole is too thin, it will be very awkward to walk on. Put the elbow and rice. He Wenzi opened the lid of the package, and the fragrance of rice and meat suddenly floated out. Followed, he lit a few incense sticks and inserted them on the ground, put 2 candles on both sides to light them, and set the brazier to burn the paper money. As time passed, the sky became darker and darker. In the already gloomy forest, it was completely invisible, and the surrounding air became colder. "Sister, last time you said you wanted to eat braised elbows, I brought them to you today." He Wenzi put the paper money in the brazier one by one. "Hurry up, we can do things after we finish." "Whose eldest sister are you calling?" A hoarse female voice sounded coldly behind her. He Wenzi shivered in shock, and the brazier was almost overturned by him. "Mental power +1. Be careful, it's all mine." A female ghost with disheveled hair, blood on her face and weirdly twisted arms and legs floated to the brazier and helped the swaying brazier. The surrounding temperature suddenly dropped to freezing point. The environment that was originally normal, but the wind gusts suddenly changed, making people inevitably full of goosebumps. Even the candle's flame is faintly turning green. "How did you ask, sister? I'm here to offer you incense. Can you be normal when you are on the stage? It's scary to be cold and cold coming out from behind me. Are you still afraid?" The female ghost's voice seemed a little weak, and she was greedily absorbing the floating incense. "But every time I scare you, you seem to be very happy," he asked. "Isn't that because of the increase in attribute points?" "Don't call my eldest sister, I just turned 18 when I died," the ghost said suddenly. He Wenzi glanced at her and said, "Then you have been dead for 20 years, and you are almost 40 years old in total, so I call your eldest sister nothing wrong." Female ghost: "I can't really eat elbows and rice, at most I can smell it. I will be full by smelling it. You can bring it back later, and you can eat it by yourself," he asked. "You female ghost knows how to save. Is just something that has been eaten by ghosts, is it really okay to eat it by yourself? Would you like to take it home to hot heat, and then bring it back tomorrow and continue to smell her?" Looking at the female ghost enjoying the aroma of braised elbows, he Wenzi remembered what happened at that time. At that time, he was running past here, and a car happened to be coming. Was also at the same time, he Wenzi felt that his spirit seemed to be controlled by something, constantly hinting at him, and even wanted to control him to walk towards the middle of the road. But at that moment, the mental strength increased several points, and the mental resistance also increased several points, and the discomfort disappeared instantly. At the same time, a woman suddenly appeared in the middle of the road. The truck that was speeding up didn't mean to slow down at all, and it directly knocked the woman into flight. To tell the truth, this scene surprised He Wenzi at the time and increased his mental strength. If the driver ran away, the woman who was hit was also gone. But at this moment, He Wenzi felt that someone was pushing herself from behind, and when she looked back, she turned out to be the woman who was hit just now. At the same time, another car hurried up on the road. Only He Wenzi was not pushed out, the woman's body seemed to be dragged to the middle of the road. She was hit by a car again. She was knocked into flight and rolled several times after landing. The driver who caused the accident ran away again. But she didn't die, but raised her face and looked at He Wenzi. Her eyes that had been soaked in blood were full of puzzlement. He Wenzi also realized at the time that he must be hell. He turned his head and was about to run, but the female ghost had already floated in front of his eyes and wanted to possess him. After was possessed, she was able to completely control He Wenzi's body and let him walk to the middle of the road and be hit by a car to death. But her possession failed. She couldn't control He Wenzi's body, and she was even injured and kicked out. At this time, another large truck came galloping in. She was hit again, and she was even dragged a few meters under the wheel. After all, it is a ghost. If you are dragged, you will be dragged. Just drag the line. Also because it is a ghost, the drivers can't see it at all, so they just left. At this time, the female ghost was completely stunned. 3 times, without success 3 times. Wanted to confuse him for the first time and let him walk into the middle of the road to commit suicide. Failed. Was more decisive the second time, so she went straight to ask why. Still failed. She chose to possess her for the 3rd time. However, the possession failed. She also felt He Wenzi's yang huo and the qi and blood in the body gradually increased. Her soul body was injured by these 2 breaths, and she was driven out. These 3 times are the reasons for He Wenzi's ability. She wanted to confuse He Wenzi, control her mind or something, which just stimulated He Wenzi's spirit, triggered the effect of ability, and led to the increase of spiritual attributes. The second time should be the cause of the soul. After all, the soul is related to the spirit. Yu reading www.yuuganju.com even said that the soul is actually an aggregation of mental power and so on. She directly touched He Wenzi's body, in the state of the soul body, which also required her to use some abilities to touch He Wenzi's body. This again led to an increase in mental attributes and a sudden increase in mental resistance, which made her unsuccessful in this push. The 3rd time she possessed her body was even more straightforward. The soul body entered He Wenzi's body, and the deep cold yin qi immediately destroyed He Wenzi's body. As we all know, yin qi can cause illness, physical weakness, or even sudden death. So, the whole body, including the spirit, was stimulated, and all of a sudden, many attributes were increasing, just like swiping the screen. The sound in his mind kept on, and his body instantly became stronger. This sense of comfort directly made him scream. At this time, the female ghost was already scared, and she wanted to run. At this time, He Wenzi is no longer afraid, he wants to accept this female ghost. It's just a sharp weapon to make you run away. The feeling of improvement in all aspects just now is really cool. He still wants it. This is much faster than exercising yourself. However, in the end, the female ghost couldn't run away, and she couldn't leave here if she couldn't find her substitute. I don't know how to catch ghosts, I can't stop it. This is how he met the female ghost? But he will come here once a day, come and squat on time. This makes the ghost very speechless, and the whole soul of the female ghost is numb. Pink and tender newcomer new book, need everyone's collection, monthly pass, investment, referral ticket care and support friends who have a book list, add a book list by the way. After more than a month, 1 person and 1 ghost are also familiar. He Wenzi also learned some related information from the female ghost. For example, why she obviously wanted He Wenzi to be a stand-in that day, and why she was hit by a car again later. The reason is that she had a car accident here, so she couldn't leave here after she died, and she was repeatedly hit 3 times a day. At that time, she failed to find a substitute. Naturally, she was hit by a car. Hearing this, it is even more curious to ask. She has been dead for 20 years, why hasn't she found a substitute until now? Is she not wanting, or can't? The female ghost said that she didn't know it. She used to be muddled, just wandering in this place, and she didn't even think about finding a substitute. Until the meteor shower came a few days ago, it seemed to have brought something. Later, He Wenzi happened to be running past here. She didn't know what was going on, as if she was driven by something in the dark, she involuntarily shot. After was hit 3 times, she was also completely awake. He Wenzi felt that if she was telling the truth, then she was more likely to be affected by the meteor shower. After all, she hasn't looked for a substitute in 20 years, which means she doesn't want to look for it. Yes, that is, I don't want to find it in my subconscious mind. Otherwise, after 20 years, how could it be impossible to find it? Although this place is very remote, it is true that not many people come here these days. But it used to be different. I haven't built so many new roads before. There are a lot of people on this road. If she really wants to find a substitute, she can't find it in 20 years, right? And for more than a month, although He Wenzi came every day, he couldn't stay here 24 hours a day. If the female ghost really wants to find a substitute, she has a lot of time, so I can't stop it because the other person is not there. Even so, after more than a month, the female ghost still didn't find a substitute, she still stayed here. But that day, she suddenly became so impulsive. At present, apart from thinking of what was affected by it, she can't think of any other possibilities. And the only thing that might affect these is the meteor shower that day. After all, she herself said what the meteor shower seemed to bring that day. Moreover, He Wenzi's ability was also brought by the meteor shower that day. By the way, I haven't asked your name yet. He Wenzi suddenly said, how much do you remember from the past? Do you remember your name? She had said before that she had been utterly unconscious, and she couldn't remember many things after she recovered. My name is Huang Xiaoyan. She said, the only thing I can think of now is my name, and that I was killed by a car. I was 18 years old, and there are only these memories left before my death. Is it 18? He Wenzi thought to himself. This girl is another 20 years ago. If she was still in school, she was not a high school student who was about to graduate, but a college student. Died in this place again, so it is very likely that he was a student from a school in Spring City. Also cannot completely rule out the possibility of coming from outside. It's just that whether you are a native of the city or a foreigner, you are an 18-year-old female student, or not a student. Why did you come to such a remote place where birds don't shit? He Wenzi came over at the time, it was to run here for 10 kilometers. Can't you be a young girl because of running, so you used to run here, right? He Wenzi was puzzled, and his eyes rolled on Huang Xiaoyan. Although the hands and feet were broken, and the appearance was very hideous, but the hands are slender and the legs are quite long, these can still be seen. If you change her clothes and remove her hideous look, then she is probably a young girl. The most important thing is that her waist and breast are really how can develop so well. This is still 20 years ago. Has nutrition been so good 20 years ago? He Wenzi rubbed his eyebrows, he suddenly felt that the rhythm seemed a bit wrong. I've been single for a long time, do you think you look pretty when you see a female ghost? The sky is completely dark now, because of the appearance of Huang Xiaoyan, the candle light has also become a little green. There is a small forest on the side of the road. Especially when the green light shone on Huang Xiaoyan's face, Her eyes turned green. This made her face even more terrifying. Fortunately, this picture has been watched for more than a month, and the sense of horror has decreased a lot for He Wenzi. As long as Huang Xiaoyan doesn't suddenly change his position and come out to scare him. But it's not bad to be really scared. It can also provide some mental power. Oh, that's all right. He Wenzi took out his mobile phone and turned on the camera function to face Huang Xiaoyan. She was not in the picture. It seems that I really can't take pictures, otherwise I really want to give her a beautiful face to see what it looks like. Before, there were occasionally some other piaos appearing in this place, but I couldn't see any of them these days. Huang Xiaoyan doesn't know anything, other ghosts might know something. By the way, why haven't you seen your other people in this period of time? You come every day, how dare they come, they are all going to other places. He asked. Speaking of it, it was an accident. About half a month ago, He Wenzi came here to find Huang Xiaoyan, but a kid suddenly attacked He Wenzi. Maybe he wants to relieve the joy of being a human being. Then what? Why don't you ask that little ghost possesses, there will be no more. Because after he entered, he was directly burned to death by the blood and Yang Huo in He Wenzi's body. This is a bit embarrassing. He Wenzi originally thought that an attribute point could be added, but it turned out to be totally useless. Did not add at all, he was directly evaporated. This also made He Wenzi understand a little bit, using ghosts to brush attribute points is indeed very convenient, but it is not all ghosts. Huang Xiaoyan has been dead for 20 years, and he will still suffer some injuries. It will definitely not work if he has only died for a year or two. The reason why the sneak attack ghost is so gone is precisely because he is not good enough, and it only takes 1 or 2 years to become a ghost. Because of that, some ghosts that originally existed around here have all gone. In their opinion, He Wenzi is simply eating ghosts. This is completely the nemesis of their ghosts. Just such a small place, among the ghosts, the name Ghost Eater spread. They were afraid to ask, for fear that they would also be eaten. He Wenzi came here every day again, and naturally it was listed as a restricted area by them, and it was impossible to come again. This is very speechless. People actually scared the ghost away. Except for Huang Xiaoyan, there is really no piao in the neighborhood. Had it not been for Huang Xiaoyan's inability to run away, I guess she would have gone too. At that scene, she was indeed shocked. She was thinking, if she defies this man, will she be eaten too? To be honest, He Wenzi didn't even plan to deal with those ghosts. As long as you don't harm people, then I am sure I won't bother you. And I will also give you incense and make you fat and white. And then used to brush the attribute value together. Well, the premise is to be as obedient as Huang Xiaoyan. Done? After eating, we are about to start. He Wenzi glanced at Huang Xiaoyan. Previously, the two of them reached an agreement. That is He Wenzi offering her incense, and then she asks once every day when she possesses her body. At present, letting Huang Xiaoyan possess his body is the most convenient and quick way to obtain attribute points. After all, you can provide yourself with attribute points for a long time. If you can use it, you must use it just right. It's okay to give her a little incense. After all, she will be hurt every time she possesses. With incense, she can recover. If she doesn't recover, let's not say whether she is willing to possess her body. Even if she is really possessed, it is likely to be killed by He Wenzi's yang qi and blood after he continues to improve. Anyway, it's just burning incense, burning some paper money or something. As long as you don't burn the incense in 3 lengths and 2 shorts, you don't think it's a big problem. That, do you want more today? Huang Xiaoyan's body trembled, every time his possessed body entered He Wenzi's body, it really hurts at first, but the incense is really fragrant. She faintly said, can't you give me a day off? The donkeys in the production team have rest time. Huang Xiaoyan is a lonely ghost, and he is bound to this place and cannot leave. It is almost an idiotic dream to want someone to provide her with incense. Even if she is not bound, as a lonely ghost, who would provide her with incense? So when He Wenzi offered to give her incense, she did not refuse. Or it is impossible to refuse. Absorbing incense can bring her some growth. As for finding a substitute, I haven't looked for it for 20 years, and it's not too late. And even if you really want to find it, it won't be so easy now. After all, ghosts like her are very disciplined. So why do car accidents happen in some places, but they don't happen every day, because they don't follow the rules? If a double is really easy to find, how many people will die every day? There is also the place where Huang Xiaoyan died, which is gloomy at night. The big trees on both sides of the road, those branches are like heavy ghosts, as if they are about to rush down at any time. This is really scary. After all, this place is really a ghost. And some time ago, those weird things were still circulating on the internet, and the number of people who went out at night was much less than usual. In this case, if someone shows up here at night, then he is definitely not a person. Unless that person asks something. So no matter whether Huang Xiaoyan insisted on not looking for a substitute, it is really not easy to find a substitute in this place these days. So, after more than a month, she would have possessed her body once a day and asked why. Every time she enters He Wenzi's body, Yin Qi will destroy He Wenzi's body. But in the same way, He Wenzi's Yang Huo and Qi and blood will also enter her body, causing her to suffer some trauma. But, He Wenzi always provided her with incense, and those injuries got better with the support of incense. The most important thing is that the incense each time is just a little bit more than the amount needed to recover from the injury. The extra point just made her improve. This is simply stuck, it makes people want to stop. Huang Xiaoyan almost went crazy at first. She really didn't understand, how did this man get the incense stick so accurate? As everyone knows, He Wenzi's ability can be used for calculation. Today you possess me, how much I have improved, and tomorrow you possess me, how much I have improved. If today's improvement is lower, it means that your current level is no longer good, and you have to improve it a bit, so more incense will be added. It doesn't matter if you can't improve at once, you can wait a few days. Anyway, from the beginning, I have been working towards a long-term goal, everything is for long-term development. Therefore, it has become a wave of improvement in all directions only after 3 differences. Even now, Huang Xiaoyan knows very well. She couldn't resist at all. He asked, and the little ghost possessed her and lost her. All the ghosts felt that it was eaten by He Wenzi. The man who eats ghosts, she is scared. If you don't obey, will you be eaten? So, she wants to drive now. Since you can't resist, take a pose and enjoy it at ease. Everything is just as natural as the flow. Although the soul body is hurt by this man every time, it hurts especially at the beginning, and the rest is just like that, and I gradually get used to it. The main thing is that the incense is too fragrant. With these incense, she can gradually improve over time. Maybe one day, she can break free from the current shackles with her own strength. You have a rest every day. He Wenzi said, the donkeys in the production team dare not rest like you. I have given you all the incense, please bring it for you. Okay, okay. Huang Xiaoyan nodded, buried her face in the braised elbow, and took a deep breath. From He Wenzi's perspective, her entire face seemed to be in the bowl. Is it so delicious? He Wenzi thought, I have eaten elbow too, it's not so exaggerated. Is it because I haven't eaten it in 20 years? At this moment, Huang Xiaoyan raised his head, showing a satisfied expression. It seems that he is really full, but the whole face is stained with blood, and the expression of enjoyment looks particularly hideous. Say the blood stains on the ghost's face or something, can it be washed off? At this time, Huang Xiaoyan's twisted limbs floated up. For a time, there was a gust of wind and the candle light was shaking. The strange thing is that no matter how the wind blows, the slightly green candle will never go out. In the next second, Huang Xiaoyan entered He Wenzi's body, and the diffuse yin qi instantly raged in his body, destroying his entire body. Also at this moment, He Wenzi's mind sounded several reminders. Cell viability +2. Metabolism +2. Agility +2. Explosive power +2. Bone density +2. Hardness +2. Reproductive ability +2. Sun fire +2. Cardiopulmonary function +2. Strength +2. Qi and blood +2. Response speed +2. Constitution +2. Flexibility +2. Stamina +2. Self-healing ability +2. Dynamic vision +2. Immunity +2. Enduring power +2. Length +2. Is like swiping the screen, the voice in my mind is continuous. Although it seems that some strange attributes have been mixed in, so many different places are improved at the same time, and the whole body is very refreshing, as if every cell is enjoying an unparalleled massage. Oh, this kind of comfort made him scream. At this time, Huang Xiaoyan's floating twisted body bounced out of He Wenzi's body. After she landed slowly, her long black hair was messy, her tattered clothes swayed in the wind, and she collapsed on the ground with her hands supporting the ground. She looked at He Wenzi, and the night wind blew over her, and the blood-stained face was full of grievances at this moment. Why is it always like this? Huang Xiaoyan wondered, it's obviously that I possess you. Your body will be eroded by my yin, but you can enjoy it every time, and I will feel so painful every time. Because each of yours is like the first time. He Wenzi said casually, he would definitely not say the truth anyway. You. Huang Xiaoyan couldn't believe it. He Wenzi didn't say anything, just thinking in his heart, today's attribute points are all unified and added 2 points. Compared with the previous +3 +5, it is indeed lower. Is my physical fitness improved a lot and has reached another standard, or is Huang Xiaoyan weaker now? Is it the reason for the lack of incense? It seems that I will bring more incense candles and the like over tomorrow. Nor, running around like this every day www.mtlnovel.com is actually quite troublesome, if only I can take her home. But she herself said she was trapped here, and she can leave only if she finds a stand-in. Actually, He Wen has heard of this in previous lives when he was on the earth. For example, water ghosts and the like must find a substitute to leave. This is a bit troublesome, I don't know if there is any other way. He Wenzi thought in his heart, if he could get a closet or something in the future. Or something like Hyaki Yexing. After all, these ghosts can give themselves attributes. Wouldn't it be better to have more, the more the better? Huang Xiaoyan, I want to ask you something. He Wenzi said, you said that besides finding a substitute, is there any other way to get out of here? I want to take you home and raise it directly at home. What did you say? Huang Xiaoyan's eyes suddenly shook, and even her body trembled. How can you do this? Once a day is not enough for you? You have to take me home, come all day long? Are you still a human? How can you abuse ghosts like this? I will be killed by you. She suddenly felt that this incense is not enough. The man in front of me is so bad. There are more than 4,900 words in the text of this chapter, so let's treat it as 5,000 words. Unexpectedly, this is only the 3rd chapter, and a big chapter has been published. What? Collection, investment, recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, etc. Come more by the way, friends who have a book list add a book list by the way. When He Wenzi got home, it was already past 9 o'clock in the night. It takes about 2 hours to ride a bicycle back and forth, and the actual time to stay there is only about 2 hours. He put the elbows he brought back into the refrigerator, and put it in the microwave to heat it up tomorrow evening, and then he could take it to Huang Xiaoyan to smell it. She couldn't really eat anyway, she was full after smelling it. It's really a bit troublesome to run around like this every day. Asking Huang Xiaoyan if he knows other ways to leave is also asking 3 questions. She can't remember anything anymore. Why is it so curious that ghosts can have amnesia? And he also thinks Huang Xiaoyan is a bit stupid, like an Iron Man, and he doesn't know if it is his own illusion. It may be someone I don't know in this world. Suddenly there is a guy who can speak with me. Even a ghost will find it hard to come by. He Wenzi thought to himself. May feel that way because of this. After taking a shower, He Wenzi lay on the bed and watched the phone. After thinking about it, he still felt it necessary to take Huang Xiaoyan home to raise her. Otherwise, for 2 hours a day, although you can get 1 or 2 attributes in one trip, your physique gradually becomes stronger, and it is estimated that it will not be effective after 2 hours of cycling. But if 2 hours are spent doing other things, that's not necessarily true. For example, now 100 push-ups can give a +1 arm strength, even if you upgrade later, the demand will double. But after all, 200 push-ups don't take much time. Even if it is 300 or 400, it cannot take 2 hours. So, in terms of harvest and efficiency, running around like this is obviously not cost-effective. If Huang Xiaoyan's possession hadn't brought about all-round improvement, it wouldn't be enough to run there every day. After all, you only rely on yourself to exercise, and there are many attribute points that you can't get. Especially in terms of mental power, it seems that at present, it seems that only through Huang Xiaoyan's possession can be improved. From a long-term perspective, especially thinking about conquering more ghosts like Huang Xiaoyan, creating a ghost gathering place, or Hyaki Yexing. Therefore, it is really necessary to solve this problem at present. He asked, thinking about it, and finally took out the phone and opened the browser. He directly searched the internet. Since the meteor shower, the world has obviously changed in He Wenzi's eyes. So, maybe there are some capable people and strangers hidden. I only hope that among the vast number of netizens, there are indeed some experts. Soon, a post immediately attracted He Wenzi's attention. Looking for a substitute ghost, this is the name of the post. The click-through rate of this post is still very high. Speaking of it, people are actually quite strange. All of them are very afraid of the strange and unknown things, but all of them want to know and watch. Especially at night, many people like to lie in bed and watch such novels, posts, or comics, anime, and movies. Even if the mobile phone is out of power, I still have to watch it while charging, maybe I still lie on my side. Some people just want to watch. This can be seen from the click-through rate of this post, it has been viewed so many times in just this little time. Is outrageous. Is this curiosity at work, or? He Wenzi opened the post. Pandeo wants to tell everyone today is finding a substitute. The poster claims to be a Taoist priest, and his ID is also very direct and decisive. He is called Wang Dao Kang. Wang Dao Kang, although we all like to watch these, it is a special time now. Some time ago, those things were spreading on the internet, but now they are all gone. Obviously they have been suppressed. Dao Master, you are saying this now, so you are not afraid of being invited to drink tea? Some internet-friendly reminders, but Wang Daokeng didn't seem to care, but continued to speak. There are generally 2 ways to die, one is disease or normal old age. The second is abnormal death, that is, death by accident. This kind of death is usually called death on the fierce in our industry. The fierce ghosts die 3 times a day. According to their different methods of death, the degree of fierceness is also different. If they are tortured to death, they are often more fierce. At the same time, their repeated deaths 3 times a day will be even more miserable, which has also deepened their resentment and hostility. It is precisely because of this that they are eager to find a substitute, so as to get rid of the cruel torture of dying 3 times a day. Deo Master, do you mean that those ghosts are not looking for substitutes for detachment? Just because you don't want to die 3 times a day? Yes. Like those killed by a car, they will be hit 3 more times a day. Those who died by jumping off the building would jump 3 more times a day. Those who drowned were drowned 3 times a day, repeating the pain before death. So if you know where there has been a car accident, drowning, or someone committed suicide, try not to go to those places, and avoid them if you can. Once you go, you are likely to become their stand-ins, and they will no longer be bound and be able to leave there, and you have to replace them and die 3 times a day. Once they leave, the resentment and hostility accumulated over the years will erupt completely, and the consequences should not be underestimated. I was so flustered when I was said so. In the building where I live, a little girl committed suicide by jumping off the building before, a netizen said. Brother, you are the fierce building. Don't hurry up. Another netizen spoke. My home is here, where am I going now? You bought a house cheaply, right? Another person spoke. The man committed suicide by jumping off the building after I bought the house. A netizen named Wang Dagan suddenly spoke. When I was a child in my hometown, my cousin and my grandfather went to work, and I played with the past. There is a river not far from the vegetable field. The river inside is very muddy. No matter how hot it is, no one in the village will go swimming. But at that moment, my cousin suddenly dropped his and ran towards the river with a smile on his face. I called him back then, and he ignored me. When he reached the river, he took off his shirt and jumped off by himself. After that, he desperately called for help. Grandpa was anxious when he heard that. He ran over with a hoe, and then asked me to urinate on my cousin. Later, my cousin grabbed that Grandpa put down and climbed up, and then looked at his ankle. There were 5 black and green fingerprints. Afterwards, my grandfather asked my cousin what was going on. My cousin said that he saw a little girl who was beautiful like a flower. The little girl waved to him, but he didn't know what was going on, so she passed by herself. Grandpa scolded his cousin for being daring, and was fascinated by ghosts. Also said that he should quickly find a daughter-in-law for his cousin, or she will come back later. I was young at the time. This scared me a lot, and I still remember it now. Dao Long, this is the water ghost looking for a substitute, right? Brother, fortunately, you were there at the time. If you didn't have your topping, your cousin would have disappeared. A netizen joked. Wang Dao Kang, yes, this is the water ghost looking for a stand-in. Your cousin didn't know it at the time, so obviously he was fascinated by his mind. This is a common harm method used by that type of ghost. People who are not strong in mind, or who are emotionally unstable in the first place, are easily recruited. Seeing this, He Wenzi thought that this Taoist priest really seems to have some ability. The things he said just now are almost the same as what Huang Xiaoyan said. Huang Xiaoyan died in a car accident, so she knows the rules or patterns very well. It's just that there is still a problem in it. Just now Wang Daoking also said that as long as this type of ghost can't find a substitute, they will experience the painful feeling before death 3 times a day. If this is replaced by a living person and has 3 near-death experiences a day, it is estimated that the mentality will collapse soon. Becoming mental illness may be the end result, right? Some people who can't stand it may commit suicide directly. So, if things go on like this type of ghost will often have great resentment and hostility. Huang Xiaoyan herself said that she couldn't find a substitute, and she did get hit 3 times a day. On that day, He Wenzi also saw her being hit 3 times with his own eyes. But there is no resentment or hostility in her, and she doesn't look like a ghost at all. If she has to say something, she is a stupid one. Burned a paper money, the brazier was a little bit crooked, and she was going to straighten it. Eat a braised elbow, the whole face will be buried in the bowl. Let her be possessed, as if to take away her virginity. The resentful and hostile ghost, would it really look like this? Doesn't look like it at all. He Wenzi thought in his heart, do you want to speak in this post, ask this Wang Daoist, or chat with him privately? At present, it seems that this Wang Daoking really has some ability. I am afraid he is a capable person and stranger who has been hidden in the world. At this time, Dao King Wang said again, in addition to these ghosts, there are some more special ghosts that you may not have heard of. Haircut ghost, this ghost likes to trim people's hair. Adult hair, especially unmarried women's hair. If you find any leftover hair, keep it indoors and burn it with fire to prevent it from being a ghost food or getting unwholesome ghosts. Edge. Netizen, I've heard of this ghost. When I was a child, I saw some people in my village with shaved pits on their heads. At that time, some people said that the ghost shaved their heads. Spite-eating ghosts, I like to get close to people who have the habit of spitting. Every time I hear the sound of coughing and sputum, I will be very happy and wait for them to spit and eat. All netizens are speechless. How come there are such ghosts? Is too disgusting. Eater, like to be close to people who drink alcohol, secretly encourage them to get drunk, wait for them to vomit and eat sickness. Netizen, so this is the reason why those people get drunk and vomit? Dungeeater, often sneaks in the dark places of dung piles. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com eats its dung gas. WDNMD, I'm in the pit right now. Just pulled out, full of feces. Fuck, my feet are numb. Hurry up, who will help me, Wang Dao Kang? This is not for other reasons to give you popular science today. The main thing is to tell you that my Wang, this person, was uploaded by the ancestor. The real ability can't be fake. If you have encountered anything recently, you can come to me for advice, and I will also provide you with various talisman props. Everyone can enter my shop by clicking on the link below. There are all kinds of props in, and the variety is complete, so you can buy it with confidence. Followed, Wang Dao King put a link below. www at number UN%. Fuck. Are you doing it for a long time just to sell goods? What I said before is the same as the truth. I almost believed it, and you gave me a routine with your backhand. The urban routine is deep. I want to go back to the countryside. Smelly Taoist, are you playing us here? Wang Dagan, who just talked about finding a substitute for the water ghost, is actually your trust, right? Believe it or not, I'll report you for promoting feudal superstition now. A bunch of netizens followed. He Wenzi was also caught off guard by this kingly chief. Just now I thought you were a real talented person, but in the end you came up with an advertisement backhand. This. He Wenzi suddenly didn't want to ask him about Huang Xiaoyan. Isn't this man really a liar? These years, there are not many scammers on the internet. Ask for a ticket. It's a good time to raise ghosts, the crematorium for the whole family brother, although I haven't seen those things with my own eyes, I have also heard of raising ghosts, and it won't end well in the end. Yes, it hurts others and hurts itself, even the whole family. He Wenzi said he was speechless. Although he did hesitate a little bit, he thought he still had to ask. After all, it's rare to meet someone who seems to really understand, and he really wants to get Huang Xiaoyan home quickly. As to whether it will succeed in the end, this has to be asked to know. It's just that, after He Wenzi asked, except for the complaints of netizens, Dao King Wang stopped talking. It is estimated that his main purpose is for the advertisement just now. Now that the advertisement is finished, it is possible that he has already gone offline. These netizens are also talents, so why did you just ask if it is possible for those ghosts to leave without looking for a substitute? Then those netizens didn't know what to think, and after some discussion, they evolved into raising ghosts. To tell the truth, He Wenzi is indeed to raise ghosts, but there is no saying that he raises ghosts to harm himself and his family. In this life, he is alone, it is impossible to harm his family. And the ghost can't harm him, and will continue to brush his attribute value. Such and such, let alone raising 1, he will also raise 10. Whoever refuses to come, I'm afraid they won't come. Brother, tell the truth, do you really want to raise a ghost? Someone asked. You think too much, but I have a friend who is more curious about this, I just help him ask. He asked the answer. I suspect that you are making friends out of nothing, keeping secrets, imagining out of thin air, making up out of thin air. Don't tell me, I've heard some things about this before. A netizen suddenly said, everyone knows the earthbound spirit in the spiritual legend over the 4 islands, right? Their range of activities is limited and they can only stay in that one place. Is this just like the ghosts of car accidents and drownings we are talking about here? They are all restrained, but can we understand this restraint as restraint or fetter? Then if this restraint or fetter can be transferred to another place, can such ghosts be allowed to leave? Fuck. Brother, you are such a genius. What you said is really reasonable. Many netizens agreed, because this statement does have some truth. He Wenzi was also awakened by a word. The man said again, at present, there are only 2 ways I can think of. The first is to take away his bones or ashes, and then make offerings day and night to change his containment location. Another way is to transfer fetters. The reason why ghosts are ghosts, and they are nostalgic in the world, it is because they have grievances or obsessions. If this obsession can be overshadowed by other things, maybe it will be successful. Is to put it more bluntly, that is, let the ghost change an obsession in a knot. For example, let this ghost's obsession become you, brother, just say you are professional. What the Taoist priest said just now is the same as it is true, but it turned out to be a seller, wouldn't you? Harmful. I am not a professional, nor do I sell goods. I am more curious about this aspect, and I usually know a little bit more. Just when you are talking about this, I will express my personal opinion. I'm not sure whether it's true or not, after all, I haven't tried it. Seeing this, he Wenzi closed the post, sat up and put on his clothes. Although I'm not sure whether it will work or not, it is at least a possible method. It's not too late, just do it when you think of it. Looked at the time, it was just 10 o'clock now. It takes about 2 hours to go back and forth. If only the bones of Huang Xiaoyan are brought back, it shouldn't take much time. It is estimated that one trip back and forth, you can get home around 12 o'clock in the morning. In this way, you won't have to waste those 2 hours tomorrow. To be honest, going out at this time, coupled with the meteor shower that came, caused a huge change in the world. In other words, the possibility of encountering ghosts when going out at this point is very high. But it would be nice to meet ghosts. He Wenzi grinned. The streets at night are extremely quiet, and no one can be seen around. He Wenzi's residence, there is an alley not far away. This is a shortcut, and it looks very dark at night. There are no street lights, let's not say, the alley is more than 100 meters long, and there is not even a monitor inside. So at night, no one will walk this road. Most people will choose to take the big road. Although it takes longer to take a detour, but there are street lights and surveillance, and personal safety is at least guaranteed. Actually, the main thing is because there are lights there, so I can see the surrounding environment and I'm not so scared. And now it's another situation. Many people still remember all the strange and terrifying things that have been circulated on the internet before. Coupled with the series of suppressions by the Human Federation of the Eastern Continent on those news at that time, this made some people always maintain an unsuspecting attitude. In short, I would rather trust it if there is something or not, and be careful to sail the ship for 10,000 years. If you encounter gangsters, or something, there may be a chance. But if you encounter those things, you really don't know what to do. Because of this, roads or alleys that look rather gloomy like this, during this period of time, there will never be people walking at night. Even some people who like to work overtime will not work overtime anymore, but hurry home before it's dark. Of course, this is not absolute. After all, there are always some people who do not believe in evil. There are also some people who are forced to live, even in the middle of the night, they still have to run around. But compared to usual, there are indeed fewer pedestrians on the road after sunset. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. But there is not much taboo for He Wenzi in this respect, and time is particularly important to him. So he decisively chose to walk the dark alley. If you encounter any gangsters, hooligans, etc., as long as the other party is not holding a gun, how can you ask about the current intensity? He can confidently say, I want to fight 10. If you have encountered a ghost, then it might be able to make He Wenzi happy. For now, apart from the ghosts who were scared off before, it seems that only Huang Xiaoyan is left. Thinking of this, He Wenzi shook his head and rode his bicycle through the dark road. After he left, in that post, the Wang Daochong who hadn't spoken for a long time appeared again. He saw the records just now, and quickly said below, Donor, that method is absolutely useless, be careful of being haunted by ghosts. If you are really entangled by ghosts, your whole life will be over. It's just that He Wenzi didn't look at the phone at all. Wang Daokang, who had not received a reply for a long time, was also anxious, and began to send a private message to He Wenzi, but still did not reply. He Wenzi is already on his way to Huang Xiaoyan at this time. He also stopped by the funeral supplies store next to him just now, but it was too late and it was closed. After all, I want to hold Huang Xiaoyan's bones, so I want to buy an urn or something. The funeral supplies store was closed, so he went home and took a snakeskin bag. Put the bones back first, and it won't be too late to change to a good one. Huang Xiaoyan should not have any opinions. Ask for tickets, ask for collection. I'm very curious, why don't you want people to find your body? In the dark night, He Wenzi holding a flashlight, carrying a bulging snakeskin bag, stood in the small forest on the side of the road, with surprise on his face. The night wind was blowing, and the treetops made a rustling noise. Other than that, there was only the sound of He Wenzi's feet stepping on the withered branches on the mud, rocks, and the ground, and there was no other sound around. It is clear that it is early summer. In a place like this, the sound of insects must be unavoidable at night, but there is no sound at all, and it's quiet and weird. Huang Xiaoyan floated quietly beside He Wenzi. Her limbs are twisted, her hair is disheveled, and her clothes are covered with blood. In such a gloomy and terrifying environment, Huang Xiaoyan was even more terrifying. However, when faced with He Wenzi, she always remained cautious and cautious. After coming out of the house before, and the funeral supplies store was closed, He Wenzi came here all the way without wasting any time. After asking if Huang Xiaoyan's bones were still here, he got an accurate answer. He followed Huang Xiaoyan in and put her bones that had been exposed to the wilderness for 20 years into the bag. To be honest, He Wenzi didn't actually hold much hope at the beginning. After all, 20 years have passed, and it is hard to say that Huang Xiaoyan's bones are still there. However, Huang Xiaoyan gave him a surprise. Her bones were still there, and she never left. Also because of this, He Wenzi seemed so surprised. It's been 20 years after all. Because I don't want people to take my corpse. Huang Xiaoyan stared at the snakeskin bag in He Wenzi's hand and said slowly. There are her bones inside. She doesn't remember anything about the events before her death, plus she was in a state of confusion before the meteor shower. Even though she is fully awake now, she only knows her name, age, and death method, but she doesn't know where she comes from, what identity she is, what happened before, and she doesn't know who her parents are. Are there any relatives in the world? Therefore, she didn't want her body to be taken away, because they were all strangers and she didn't even know them. She doesn't want to harm people, so as long as someone passes by before that, she will subconsciously use a blinding technique, that is, ghosts hit the wall. Is not harmful, but I don't want people to see my corpse, so what will happen to my corpse? Hearing this answer, He Wenzi's expression changed. He thought for a while, and tentatively asked, "Do you not even know that there is a sheriff in this world?" Huang Xiaoyan, what is that? Let's go. He Wenzi sighed, really shouldn't have any fluke hope. Have been together for more than a month, and I should have seen it long ago. Huang Xiaoyan's amnesia is very serious, and she doesn't even have some common sense. During this more than a month, he asked her a lot when chatting every day. It's just a ghost, why amnesia? He Wenzi looked back at the road behind him again. It's more than 10 meters since I walked there? What kind of car was it that hit you? Can it knock you so far? Huang Xiaoyan, I don't know about this. She really didn't know, she couldn't remember anything. He Wenzi opened his mouth. Let's go, I asked a lot, knowing that she didn't remember anything. He Wenzi shook his head, no longer entangled with this question. It is better to try as soon as possible to see if Huang Xiaoyan can be taken away. Go, let's go back first. Really, can it really work? Huang Xiaoyan asked, with a little expectation in his tone. I don't know, just try first. He Wenzi shook his head, if it doesn't work, I will put your bones back here. Oh, good. She seemed to be a little lost. He asked when he took the bones and said to Huang Xiaoyan that perhaps she could leave by taking the bones away. As for the others, I didn't say anything about it. After all, there are obsessions, fetters, and concerns. If you say it in advance and then do it, it will be a bit deliberate, and it may increase the difficulty and even lead to direct failure. After all, I don't know if there are any precedents for this kind of thing. It's the first time. Whether it can be done or not, there is no need to trouble myself. Step by step out of Xiaolinzi, He Wenzi thought about what he saw on the post. He said, do you want to retrieve your previous memories? Think, but, can I get it back? It's been 20 years. Huang Xiaoyan's words were full of regret. The memory of the past is like a proof of her existence. But she forgot everything. She wanted to get it back, but she was restrained and couldn't leave here at all. And even if she left, she didn't remember anything, didn't know anything, and couldn't find it. Seeing Huang Xiaoyan's expression and reaction, He Wenzi secretly said that there might be something to play. Want to let her leave here, need to transfer her obsession, containment, fetters. The best way to achieve this is to start where the other party desires the most. Judging from the current situation, what Huang Xiaoyan desires most is to retrieve the memories of the past. Fortunately, Huang Xiaoyan is an amnesia, otherwise I really don't know how to start. I will help you. He Wenzi said seriously, I will be with you, and we will find a way to find your past together. Huang Xiaoyan's body trembled slightly, she didn't even dare to think, why would you ask such a thing? After more than a month, although He Wenzi would come every day, he would bring her delicious food and provide her with incense. But He Wenzi would ask her to possess her body every time, and then show a very comfortable and happy expression. This gives her the feeling that he is playing with her more often. This is his ultimate goal. A man who uses ghosts for fun and eats ghosts, would he say such a thing? Will he really help me? Then, what if I can't leave here? Huang Xiaoyan asked suddenly. If you still can't leave, then I won't give up. He asked is still serious, if you can't leave, I will help you find the past as much as possible outside. If you can't leave, I will still come to chat with you every day, and bring you delicious and fun. As long as you want to leave, I will continue to think of other ways to let you leave. Faced with He Wenzi's fiery expression and serious tone, Huang Xiaoyan, who had been drooping his head, slowly raised his head. Her eyes have changed. Really? But are you always making fun of me? Huang Xiaoyan said. Obviously, she has been moved, but there are always doubts in her heart. She wants to understand. What nonsense are you talking about? He Wenzi said, I have always regarded you as a friend. You are my only friend in this world. The only friend. Huang Xiaoyan's eyes narrowed. I turned out to be his only friend? So, you just want to help me? He Wenzi shook his head and said, do you know why I am called by this name? Huang Xiaoyan shook her head. She was curious why he asked Zi said this suddenly. This is the name my dad gave me. He Wenzi talked about the origin of his name. This was when he was on the earth in his previous life. Although his parents have passed away, he asked his father why he gave him this name when he was a child. Father told him that when he once read ancient poems, he saw many poems with question. He is very strange, why did the ancients always ask? Ask what you are doing. Ask the wine about the blue sky, ask how worried you can be, ask if the flowers bloom, ask the girl what you think, ask the king about the return date. There is also when will the blue sky come, I will stop the cup and ask about it today. In short, there are too many questions, so he took the last two words of I will stop the cup and ask for it today, and add the he surname, which just formed why the question was asked, or why there was this. The meaning of a question. He hopes that he will not ask too much in the future, do what he wants, the last word is to go rashly. A complete reckless man. Fortunately, he Wenzi didn't grow up as his father expected, otherwise it would be really finished. After saying this, he Wenzi looked at Huang Xiaoyan seriously, so, why do you want to ask? Don't think about anything now, you need to answer me, do you want to find your memory? Would you like to leave here and come home with me? Go home. Huang Xiaoyan raised her head. The night wind blew away her long, messy, dark hair, revealing blood-filled cheeks. Her eyes were soaked with blood, they were already flushed, but there were surprises and wings in them. He Wenzi nodded, and tried his best to show a gentle smile on his face. This is the first time he has seen Huang Xiaoyan's entire face clearly and completely. This face was full of scars and dripping with blood. The car accident caused great damage to her, even her neck was a little twisted. Because she was always invisible because she was covered by long black hair, now thinking about it, it is estimated that her throat is also injured, otherwise her voice will not be so hoarse. I just don't know if she will be able to recover from the injuries on her face and body when her Taoism improves in the future. Huang Xiaoyan, who had forgotten the past, seemed to really believe it when he faced He Wenzi's vowed promise. There was a sudden ripple in her heart, throbbing. At this moment, He Wenzi looked like the sun in her eyes, full of hope. I am willing to go home with you. She nodded and said. Before, she may be a salted fish, or maybe just get along and don't want to hurt others, so she can't leave. She also holds the attitude that one day is one day. But at this moment, she was really moved, she wanted to take the initiative to do something. She wants to leave here and understand what the world will become after 20 years. She also wants to read ancient poems, so she should bring the word asked. She even wanted to retrieve her memory, find her parents, and then ask them why they named herself Huang Xiaoyan. These have become her most powerful obsessions now. The night wind was blowing gently, and the leaves rustled. There is a moon hanging in the sky, but the moonlight can't shine into the dark forest. At this moment, Huang Xiaoyan suddenly said, I seem to have become your backing spirit. Behind the scenes. I can follow you, wherever you go, I can follow. Huang Xiaoyan became excited as he said this. So, you can leave this ghost place. He Wenzi was also excited. Huang Xiaoyan nodded frequently, and told He Wenzi that this place still bound her to a certain extent. But as long as she enters her bones, and then He Wenzi walks with the bones, it is fine to stay away from this place. After leaves, this place will not have any influence on her. It's great. He asked one to make a fist, not in vain that he had spent so much tongue just now. Fortunately, Huang Xiaoyan is an amnesia, in a state where he doesn't understand anything. And she really wants to find her memory, and he Wenzi moved out the naming of her parents, which deepens her desire to find her memory and find her parents' obsession. If it weren't for these, it would be impossible to fool her with that simple. I just didn't expect that this method really works. Does seem a bit too simple? He Wenzi thinking, always feel that something is wrong. Followed him and shook his head again, no matter how simple he was, as long as the goal was achieved. With a smile on his face, he secretly said, "Sure enough, the master is among the people. That netizen does not deceive me. It's just that Huang Xiaoyan has become the spirit behind her, so it means she is attached to me, right? But why am I not feeling at all? Has no real feeling, which is very ridiculous. As for why Huang Xiaoyan can feel it right away, maybe this is the special feature of ghosts. After she became a ghost in a car accident, no one told her about the rules, but she just knew it. Is now the spirit behind, and she knows that too. Is quite magical." Back to the side of the road, holding the bicycle, hanging the snakeskin bag on the handle, looking at Huang Xiaoyan who was about to get into the bones, He Wenzi said, "That's right, I have to ask you something. Didn't you say that you can confuse people with blindfolds? In addition to this ability, what else do you have? It's better to have a clear understanding of abilities, and maybe we need to cooperate in the future. Blind eyes, ghosts hit walls, possession, I can still take some things. That's it? Nothing." Huang Xiaoyan nodded. "Isn't it? You are a ghost of 20 years anyway. Just a little experience or no experience. Haven't tried it before. I haven't done it before. That time I met you, it was the first time I did it. I really didn't have any experience, and I have never learned this before." "Oh, all right." He Wenzi sighed, "Go home with me this time, you will have a lot of time from now on. When the time comes, the two of us will study to see if you have any skills to develop." "Okay." Huang Xiaoyan nodded. He asked again and reminded, "If I didn't call you, don't come out to avoid accidents on the road. I am mainly afraid that if Huang Xiaoyan suddenly pops up on the road, will he be seen by others? Although there may not be anyone on the road at this point, and others may not be able to see it, but just in case." Huang Xiaoyan nodded again and got into the bones. In the dark alley, a young woman wearing a pink skirt with a hips walked out slowly. She has a bumpy figure, tall and charming, and her chest is mostly white. She holds a thin white unlit cigarette in her hand, and she writhes her waist while walking. When walked to the intersection, she leaned directly against the wall, with her hands on her chest, cigarettes dangling between her fingers. At this time, a taxi came slowly and stopped at the opposite intersection. The car door opened, and two young brothers walked down. After paying for the car, the taxi left. One of the young people walked to the corner and put his head against the wall. Then he started to hush. The other man glanced left and right, urging him to hurry up. The two of them were flushed, and they looked like they were drinking too much. Looking at this, if I had another glass of wine, I would be unconscious. The cold night wind kept blowing over them, and there was no sign of the two being awake. At this time, the woman on the other side of the road beckoned him. "Handsome guy, borrow a fire." The young man looked around and patted his booing friend. The friend shook it, lifted up his pants, turned around and took a look. The two looked at each other and smiled as they both understood. They did not speak, and walked over together. "It's just that the footsteps are vain after drinking, it seems to be shaky." The woman on the opposite side can't stand it, and hastened over to help. "Two handsome guys, why did they drink so much?" "Oh, Don't mention it, sister. The young man shook his head, took out a lighter and lit the woman's cigarette, and said, "Life is not easy." The woman took a deep breath, and then exhaled light white smoke. "Yes, it's not easy, look at me, it's already this point, and I still have to do business." The woman winked. The corners of the youth's mouth raised. "What does my younger sister mean? There is a hotel in front of me." The woman's tone was teasing. "What hotel to go to? Isn't this just a ready-made place?" The young man looked at the gloomy alley in front of him. Obviously he was completely up. "It's here? What if someone sees it?" The woman shook her head. "It's exciting when I see it." The young man said, "I'll give you 600 more." The woman hesitated a bit when she heard the additional money. One person is 600, and two is 1002. "Give me 600 more, and I have to pay me 1008. "Fine." The young man nodded, took out his mobile phone and scanned the QR code to pay. He couldn't wait. In this way, two young people took the young woman into the alley. After walking a few steps, the woman squatted down and kissed. The young man trembled, as if there was an electric current passing by. He was particularly enjoyable. Seeing this from another young man, Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com seemed a little too late. At this moment, the young man who had been enjoying suddenly stopped breathing, and his whole body trembled violently. The contours of the body, which was still somewhat fat, dwindled at a speed visible to the naked eye. With a plop, the young man fell down. The young man behind was frightened, and he drooped in an instant. He yelled in horror and turned his head to run. However, the woman is faster, and the moment she reaches out her hand, she grabs his lifeblood. "Brother, I will love you very much." The sound of bicycle chains rubbing against gears, as well as the sound of tires crushing the ground, seemed particularly harsh in this quiet night. He Wenzi is in a good mood, because he can finally bring Huang Xiaoyan home. Can save 2 hours of hurrying time every day. These 2 hours are used for other sports. You can add a few other attribute points. Riding a bicycle, turning right and about to turn into the dark alley, a woman in a pink skirt suddenly walked out. Met love around the corner and almost ran into it. The woman dodges quickly, so she breaks in time when she asks. When she raised her head, she met He Wenzi's eyes. Seeing the other person so tall and handsome, the woman's eyes flashed instantly. "Little handsome guy, do you want to play?" "Hey! It's another big chapter with more than 5,000 words, which is more handsome than the author. The update is so awesome, I love it, ha ha ha." That, the author is so awesome, everyone voted, so do it. By the way, are there any friends from the last book? Pink Newcomer's new book, Ask for Tickets Online, recommended on today. It is a small recommendation on the PC side, which is to test the water. It's only a few days since I just published the book, and now the word count is indeed a little bit short, so I suddenly recommended it, and I feel that the effect is definitely not good. In fact, suspense is originally an unpopular one. There are not many people, and how many people use computers to read novels these days, all using mobile phones. The small recommendation of the suspense classification page on the PC side is estimated to have no results at all. After all, there is only one recommendation, and it is not like other people. It is also given the recommendation position of the client, that is, the mobile app. So friends, vote more, vote with votes, click a favorite if there are no votes, invest by the way, and vote again when there are votes, he he he. The friends who have the book list also add a book list easily. If you think this book is okay, you can also talk to the people around you. Is mutual amnesty, 1 pass 10 10 pass 100. All machos and beautiful women are fascinated. Please use your little hands to order a collection, vote for a vote, add a bookshelf, come to Amway, please, please. Please friends. The light of the flashlight shone out and dangled on the young woman. Small waist, big long legs, long is indeed okay, and it's still black and straight long hair. It's just that the pair of cantaloupes on the opponent's chest is really outrageous, and they are almost jumping out. The woman in the pink skirt raised her hand to cover her eyes, and said softly, "Little handsome guy, don't shoot me in the face, it's dazzling." He Wenzi was too lazy to care about her, put down the flashlight and turned away. Has no interest at all. The woman in the pink skirt was a little anxious when she saw this, and took He Wenzi's hand. "Little handsome guy, just play with my sister, no money or?" "My sister can give you money," he asked. He stopped and looked back. "Pay first." Pink skirt woman. Although speechless, she still took out her mobile phone. He Wenzi also took out her mobile phone and asked her to scan the code to transfer. 2,000 yuan arrived. During this period, he saw the excitement of the woman in the pink skirt. Her nose twitched a few times, sucking the smell from him. Seeing her look drunk, she seemed to be really fascinated by He Wenzi's masculinity. "Little handsome guy, there is a hotel over there, go there to play." The girl in the pink skirt was slightly anxious. He Wenzi shook his head, "Not enough." The woman in the pink skirt opened her mouth. Seeing how he asked, "There is a meaning that I will not leave if you don't pay." She thought about it, and then turned 2,000. He Wenzi remained unmoved, so she had to turn another 2,000. He Wenzi still shook his head. The woman took a deep breath. "My mother is only 600 at a time, you are already 6,000. He Wenzi didn't speak, but looked at this woman with weird eyes. "That's okay, let's go." He nodded. "Walk around and go to the hotel over there." The woman urged. She couldn't wait. "What hotel to go to, isn't that good? Are you here too? And also?" "Ah, it's nothing, it's just here, it's really good." The woman smiled and took He Wenzi's hand and walked into this dark alley. "Little handsome guy, just here." After walking a few meters, the woman smiled. "Remove the small print, mine is very big, so bear with me." As soon as S words fell, a big casserole-like fist slammed over, facing the face of the woman in the pink skirt. A muffled sound spread, like a drum, and the air vibrates. The woman's head was beaten upright, and the huge power made her whole body feel like flying out at this moment. Is just the hand that she was holding He Wenzi before, and she had been held back by He Wenzi a long time ago. Fell over, and was pulled back abruptly by him. The second punch had followed and hit her in the side of the face. He Wenzi's eyes were wide open, his muscles were tight, and the veins swelled. At this time, his whole person looks like a vigorous black panther in the night. Has exercised for more than a month, and various attribute values have been added for more than a month. At this moment, all the power burst out and gathered together, like a cannonball, and smashed out fiercely. Clicked, the sound of broken bones came, and the bones of the woman's profile were shattered by He Wenzi's punch. At the same time, the fist was undiminished and slammed into the woman's mouth through the side face. The woman screamed, her skin quickly turned black, her fingernails on her hands turned black and long, and under the shining moonlight, she was shining with a cold gloomy light, turning into pitch-black claws. Although she grabbed one hand, her other hand can still operate flexibly. Seeing that the pitch-black claws were about to strike, He Wenzi hurried to the back and moved away from the opponent first. This black claw is not easy at first sight, in short, it is better to avoid it first. He Wenzi frowned when he looked at the monster in front of him. What the is this? Zombies? Can zombies be so flexible? If it is really a zombie and can achieve this level of flexibility, then the level is definitely not low. In this way, half of the face would not be ruined in one punch. And zombies shouldn't transform, right? At this time, the face of the monster on the left side was broken, and the bones inside were broken. The teeth in his mouth were also collapsed by He Wen with a fist, and the smelly and dark liquid kept in it. The whole appearance looked very embarrassed. The monster's eyes were full of fierceness, wailing, as if talking. It's just that half of her face was gone, her words leaked out, and she couldn't hear what she was talking about at all. At this moment, the monster suddenly jumped up, trying to escape by jumping over the wall next to it. If you can't beat it, just run, no problem. The monster turned from a pink-skirt woman, stared at He Wenzi's blood and yang, and wanted to him dry. So when she first saw He Wenzi, her eyes lit up, and she couldn't hide the desire in her heart. Is so vigorous, full of vitality, blood and yang, it is an absolute tonic for her. But she didn't expect He Wenzi to possess such powerful strength and physical quality. Just now, she was too careless. She was caught off guard and was also caught. The first punch made her feel that her neck was almost broken. When she reacted, the second punch had ruined half of her face. How can she beat such a terrible person? Or, is he really a human? How could there be such a terrible physical fitness? Knowing that she was not an opponent at all, she decided to run away without any hesitation. But He Wenzi kept staring at her. How could she give her a chance? His feet suddenly exerted force. He Wenzi ejected like a cheetah, kicked his feet on the wall, and took advantage of the force to rise up again, came to the top of the monster to intercept it, and kicked it hard. Up her chest. The two meat on his chest burst instantly, the fishy and disgusting mucus splashed, and the monster's body fell heavily and slammed on the ground. Her breastbone was completely shattered, and after landing, she was spitting out dark liquid continuously, and her twisting body trembled. He Wenzi also landed quickly, lifted her head with one hand, and slammed it down again. At this moment, there was a pain in my arm. Pain resistance +1. Healing ability +1. Poison resistance +3. The monster came back on the verge of death, and his claw pierced He Wenzi's arm. Only after her head was blown by a hammer, there was no more movement. He Wenzi glanced at his arm. At first, there was still black spreading in the wound, but as the poison resistance increased, the spread was stopped. At this moment, there was another indication of increased poison resistance, and it increased by 7 points in a row. Adding the 3 points just now, I gained 10 points of poison resistance in such a short while. It seems that the toxin contained in the monster's claws cannot be underestimated. But fortunately, why did I have acquired self-healing ability several times before? Although the toxins are destroying, the body is also healing. With the 10 points of poison resistance just added, the dark toxin on the arm is slowly dissipating. At the current rate, the remaining toxins and the injury on the arm should be able to recover after tonight. There are ghosts in this world. He Wenzi has long known about it. Since there are ghosts, there will still be other things in ghosts and ghosts, which is nothing strange. Because he was mentally prepared for a long time, He Wenzi didn't feel any discomfort when suddenly facing such a monster. On the contrary, the battle just now made him feel exciting, and there was even such a feeling of enthusiasm. Yes, there is only one trace, because it ends too soon. This monster that can turn into a human female to seduce men, although I don't know what her name is, she is too weak. Putting aside her poison, her combat effectiveness in other areas is really weak. He Wenzi's attribute value increases every day, and after more than a month, he has reached a level that can crush this monster. With a physical monster, it can be solved by fist-to-flesh combat, and it seems to be easier to deal with than a ghost like Huang Xiaoyan. However, this monster is weak, but it also provides some attribute points, which is actually a gain. Especially the poison resistance, I added 10 points all at once. This was the first new attribute he obtained, and coupled with the healing attribute and various other attributes, the monster's poison would not cause him any harm. In fact, as early as the beginning, when he asked, he felt that the other party had a problem, but he had not yet reached the point where he was 100% sure that the other party was not human. But the woman stretched out her hand to hold him. After physical contact, He Wenzi immediately felt the other party's problem. Ordinary people may not be able to clearly perceive it. After all, the other party dared to come out in such a stately manner, there must be some way to hide it. However, whether it is mental power or various other attributes, it is far beyond ordinary people. After having physical contact, he clearly noticed that the breath on the opponent's body was very strange, and there was no heartbeat or pulse. In this way, she is either not human or dead. Is also because of this, he Wenzi will shoot without hesitation. Is also because of this, he had only looked at women with weird eyes before. Because the other party is not human, why does she feel so sorry for money? Does she have to integrate into human social life, so she needs money? There is, why did she give me money? Anyway, I want to attack me. Isn't it good to do it directly? Why bother? And, what is this monster? He Wenzi doesn't know much about things like monsters, demons, and ghosts. Most of them are learned through novels and hearsay stories in previous lives. He had never heard of such a monster in front of him. Huang Xiaoyan, come out and take a look. He Wenzi called out Huang Xiaoyan, look at what this is. Out of this alley, He Wenzi lives outside. It is far away from the place where Huang Xiaoyan was involved in the car accident, so coming out here will have no effect. Huang Xiaoyan floated out. At this time, the monster's body had begun to fester, gradually turning into dark thick water. She glanced a few times and said, I heard other similar mentions before, this should be a walking corpse. Then why she stared at me and gave me the money? The walking corpse likes the energy of the cannibal yin and yang, you are full of blood and yang, she will naturally look at you. In her eyes, you are a big supplement. He Wenzi nodded, he had also heard of the yang energy of demons and ghosts. For example, in the legends of ghosts and monsters seen in previous lives, the vixen and female ghosts in them will trick men and their yang energy. You know a lot. He Wenzi smiled. Huang Xiaoyan, I just forgot the things before death, I still remember the things after death. Then why does she care about money so much? Is it because she also needs to integrate into human life? I don't know this. Let's go. He Wenzi nodded, and didn't say more, but asked Huang Xiaoyan to look around to see if anyone had been killed here. He asked, he also flashed a torch, and found it in the alley. When talking to a woman in a pink skirt before, she said the word also. At that time, He Wenzi realized that someone might have been killed. Was just looking for it, and found nothing at all, even the big green trash can in the alley was clean. In this way, there are only two possibilities. Either the monster just said also, or she has cleaned up the scene in advance. I can't find anything at the moment, I can only stop it. It was already more than 12 o'clock in the morning at night. He Wenzi didn't plan to stay outside. He first let Huang Xiaoyan return to the bones, pushed his bicycle through the alley, and walked towards the residence. More than a month has passed since the world has changed, and He Wenzi has also been getting stronger during these times. At first, he didn't know much about his own strength. Although he was able to improve his strength once every 3 days, it would be 45 points in 1.5 months, but it was obviously more than that. Especially the physical strength has improved by 70 to 80 points, or even 100 points. Because of the attribute points in this area, it can be improved through independent exercise. It is not an exaggeration to have 100 points for such a long time. In other words, the attribute point of power is currently the highest attribute of He asked. And the walking corpse just now can be said to have been crushed by his power speed. In addition, every time Huang Xiaoyan possesses a body, the yang fire and qi and blood will increase a lot, and these two can also restrain these gloomy things. If the spirit body encountered just now, the physical attack may be ineffective, but yang huo and qi and blood do. Generally speaking, he has the means to deal with whether he encounters a physical monster or a spirit ghost. He Wenzi thought so in his heart. Soon, he parked his bicycle in the stairwell and locked it. After doing this, he turned upstairs. Just when he stepped on the steps, a cold feeling hit him instantly, enveloping his whole body in an instant. At this moment, his whole body is upside down, he is just taking a step, but he seems to have stepped into another world. An extremely cold world. He Wenzi's heart jumped suddenly. How do you feel like you have followed the underworld? Room 402, this is He Wenzi's next door, and there lives a young girl in her early 20s named Han Yuman. She and He Wenzi often see each other. Is also a neighbor anyway, every day I look up and see when I lower my head. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com is just not familiar with each other, so even if I saw it, I didn't say anything. Han Yuman is petite and lay lazily on the bed, like a kitten. The small person seems to be less than 1 meter and 5 meters tall, wearing a wide cartoon pajamas, enough to envelop her. The cartoon pajamas are very thin. After all, it is early summer, and Spring City is a southern city again, and the weather is already very hot. Although she is wearing pajamas, she lives alone, so she usually lifts her pajamas until her chest is up. Although there is nothing in it, but there is no one else in the house, she doesn't care. If it doesn't get hot anymore, she will put down the place where she lifted up. In her opinion, this is more convenient than taking off and wearing it. After all, although the weather is hot now, but when the air conditioner is turned on, it will feel cold. If the air conditioner is not turned on and the fan is turned on, she feels limp after blowing for a long time, so she thought of this method. It's already more than 12 o'clock in the morning, but she still didn't sleep. Instead, she swiped the phone screen and watched the novel intently. With her small mouth biting her nails, her expression gradually became serious, and her breathing became a little bit quicker. There was a trace of fear in his eyes, as if he happened to see the frightening place in the novel. At this time, there was a sudden knock on the door, which seemed particularly harsh in the silent night. The sound made her shiver, and she almost threw her phone out. Is another big chapter, 4,500 words. Monthly tickets, recommended tickets, various investment requests. If there is a book list, add a book list. My name is Chen Yuruo and I live in a remote mountain village. I was born on the day of the Ghost Festival, and my mother passed away due to dystocia when I was born. Since then, my grandfather and dad have been taking care of me. My family's ancestors were doing corpse backing. This is a business that specializes in dealing with dead people. It's just that with the changes of the times, this line is gradually lonely, until the end it is impossible to live on the back of the corpse. But fortunately, there are quite a few skills that need to be mastered in the corpse backing line, and Jirong is one of them. And grandpa and dad also inherited this skill from their grandparents, and then the two of them rely on this to make a living. Although they still deal with dead people, they have no choice. They only have the skills to deal with dead people. Although I am a girl, I have heard my grandpa tell my dad some weird things since I was a child. Among them, I mentioned many taboos, including all kinds of unclean things. Because of this, I am much bolder than my peers. Since I was 10 years old, I started to beat my grandfather and dad when they were working. During that time, I also saw various corpses. Some were hacked, drowned, hanged, jumped to death, and others were like corpses. What impressed me the most was those 2 times. It was a person who was crushed to death by a cart. The whole head was crushed and it was impossible to stitch. Later, my grandfather had to make a head for him with paper. The facial features were drawn stroke by stroke. The other is a corpse retrieved from the mountain. At that time, the internal organs of that corpse had been hollowed out by wild animals. Later, Dad stuffed his belly with cotton, and then stitched his belly with stitches, so that his body would not collapse and it looked normal. Because Grandpa and Dad are both very good at craftsmanship, they are well known in Shili Baxiang. Even people in the city sometimes ask Grandpa and Dad to go over and treat the dead people in their family. Although it is still a dead end, but the family of 3 lives in peace and worry about food and clothing. But on that day, a group of people suddenly arrived. They drove a car, dressed in suits and ties, and they looked like rich people from the city. They left after talking to their grandpa and dad. Grandpa and dad had a big quarrel that night. I was hiding outside and overheard something. The group of people who came during the day wanted grandpa and dad to carry the body. It was a couple who died outside. According to their local custom, the couple died accidentally. They should not be buried together after death, otherwise accidents would easily happen. And the farther you want to bury, the better. Later, they decided to send the woman's body back to her natal family for burial, but this was the husband and wife's death. The grievance was very high. The chance of the corpse was very high. If it is not handled well, there may be accidents. Only professional people can come. 2. Because of this, they had to be buried separately, using the terrain of the mountains and rivers to suppress them by feng shui metaphysics, to avoid the transformation of the two corpses and the formation of two evil spirits. After, they inquired a lot and learned that grandpa and dad were descendants of the carpenter, so they came here specially. But my grandfather was not willing to take this matter, but my father said that he had to take it, saying what was for my good. At that time, the two of them were arguing too violently, and I hid outside again. The specific reason was not clear. The next day, Dad disappeared. I asked my grandfather. Grandpa only said that his father had gone out to pick up the job, but he didn't want to say specifically. But I overheard something last night. I know that Dad must have taken the matter alone. Since that day, Dad never came back. Until the year when I was 15, a sudden serious illness made me lie in bed for more than a week. Grandpa found a lot of people, posted a lot of talisman in my room, burned a lot of yellow paper outside, and some people danced a weird dance next to my bed. After tossing like this for several days, my condition improved. It's just that since then, my body has become very weak. Grandpa said, I was born in Gaija, and the characters are overcast. I am born with a heavy yin spirit and a weak life pattern. If you want to continue your life, you can only get married and find someone who has a hard life and can protect me from disasters. At that time, I didn't understand the concept of yin marriage very well, and didn't say anything. Until that night, my grandfather brought back a male corpse. This male corpse had a purple mark on the neck. At first glance, he thought it was strangled to death. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that it was a circle of fine stitches. His head was sewn up. More than that, he also has stitches on his limbs and torso, and his hands and feet are also sewn on. Grandpa said, he is the one who wants to marry me. My scalp was numb at the time. I would agree, and I kept shaking my head before going back to the house. But at this moment, the door was pushed open, and my father, who had disappeared for 5 years, stood outside with a coffin on his back. Grandpa took my hand and pointed at Dad with a cigarette stick, unable to say a word. Dad did not speak, nor did he enter the house. Instead, he put down the coffin behind him and opened the lid of the coffin. Inside lies a girl in a red wedding gown, who looks about 15 or 6 years old. She lay quietly. www.mtlnovel.com. There was no ups and downs in her chest, just a dead body, but her face was very ruddy, her eyes closed, like a sleeping bride. Grandpa held my eyes to prevent me from looking. I slashed a finger, and then I could see the face of the corpse of the wedding dress. At this moment, a chill rushed from the solace of my feet to my forehead, and at the same time my scalp was numb. I just felt that my breathing was stagnant. The corpse of the married woman lying in the coffin turned out to be me. Seeing this, Han Yuman was biting her nails and breathing quickly. She was already deeply attracted by the content of the novel. She unconsciously substituted herself into it, and her small body froze there. Especially the heroine in the novel still has the same word as her name, which makes her feel more. She is looking forward to the follow-up plot now, but at this moment, there was a quick knock on the door, which made her tremble and almost jumped up. Since she was lying and watching, her hands shook in fright. The phone hit her face directly, and she grinned in pain. The knock on the door continued. For no reason, Han Yuman only felt that his heart became more irritable, and even more annoyed. Who? She yelled, but there was no response, and even the knock on the door stopped. She frowned, wondering if the takeaway arrived. It's only been a few minutes since I placed my order. It's not so fast, right? Could it be that you sent me the things that others didn't want to charge back? She turned on the phone and found that the writer brother hadn't picked up the meal yet. Who would it be just now? Is it a neighbor? Why is he knocking on my door in the middle of the night? The knock on the door came again, but this time it didn't appear to be rushed, but was knocked rhythmically, as if deliberately provoking nerves. Who? Han Yuman shouted again. When she first read the novel, she still felt a little horrified and afraid, but now the irritability has completely overwhelmed the horror and fear when she first read the novel, and she only felt annoyed in her heart. There is a lamp in the room, the windows are tightly closed, the curtains are also pulled, and the door is ajar. Under the dim table lighting, the whole room looked extremely claustrophobic and quiet. Snapped. She pressed the switch and turned on the headlights in the room. The whole bedroom was illuminated, and the slightly gloomy feeling just now was instantly dissipated. At this time, her phone vibrated. Took a look, it was sent by a female friend of hers. Have you slept? Han Yuman replied, not yet. Friend, you still don't sleep so late? Insomnia again? Han Yuman, well, I have been inexplicably annoying lately, there are always ghosts in my heart, don't you know? Friend, oh, I'm also annoying, I'm going to be sad to die. I cried for a day today and my eyes are swollen. Do you already know about my boyfriend? If nothing happened, we would have gotten married, Han Yuman, oh, I know, don't be too sad, he is sorry, friend, I don't know what to do now, I want to talk to you now, Han Yuman? Was you the one who knocked on the door just now? Friend? What are you talking about? I want to go to find you, but I still haven't set out at home. Han Xiaoming, then wait, I just had someone knocking on the door, I'll go see it. Friend, this is in the middle of the night, please pay attention. Han Yuman, well, I will pay attention. Friend, then I will go to find you now. Han Yuman, farewell, at night, it's not safe outside. Friend, Han Yuman, you go to bed early, let me see who it is. After chatting a few words, Han Yuman stopped talking. When I was chatting, the knock on the door stopped for a while. But just for a while, the knock on the door rang again. Listening to this voice, Han Yuman's irritability became more and more intense. With the bedroom door ajar, she stood up and looked into the living room while holding her mobile phone. Followed, she walked out. Because she lives alone, she will turn on the lights in other parts of the house at night except for the bathroom and kitchen. I want to sleep in the bedroom. The light is too bright and I worry that it will affect my sleep, so I only turned on a lamp. It is late at night, and the living room is abnormally quiet, and it looks very deserted. The window in the living room can see the outside, and the night sky is pitch black without a trace of starlight. The cold night breeze blew in through the screen windows, and the orchids placed on the drinking fountain had slender green leaves swaying gently with the wind. Han Yuman stared at the door for a few times and shouted, "Who?" Only then, the knock on the door stopped again. The sound of air venting from the water dispenser was like a twitch in her heart, making her more irritable. She walked to the door, leaned forward slightly, looking out through the cat's eyes. There are lights on in the corridor, but there are no people outside the door. She took a closer look, but she still had nothing. Her brows were frowning tightly, perhaps because she was upset and annoyed. She stood behind the door for a while, then walked to the windowsill and looked out. The cold night wind blew on his body, and his shoulder-length hair shook with the wind. I don't know why, Han Yuman has always been suddenly irritable recently, and sometimes a wildfire rises up inexplicably, feeling that the whole person is going crazy. Sometimes, she would stare at a place unconsciously in a daze, and it would take a long time to react. Especially when I go to bed at night, my heart will become uncontrollable and uneasy, and I will think about some very bad things for no reason. Maybe I'm sick, so I should go to a doctor for a good check. Well, it's a psychologist. Just when Han Yuman looked out the window in a daze, the knock on the door sounded again, and it became more rhythmic. She looked back suddenly as if she was shocked. At this moment, she felt a little dazed, and the temperature in the living room seemed to drop a lot. She stopped thinking about it, but took a deep breath and prepared to call the police. Knocked on the door for about half a minute, and she asked who it was, but she didn't answer. She was a girl who lived alone and didn't dare to open the door, so she could only choose to call the police. Just when she picked up her mobile phone to make a call, a message suddenly came over. "Are you here? I'm here, this is an unfamiliar number." After the message appeared, the knock on the door paused for a moment, and then it rang again. It's just that the direction of the sound has changed this time. Listen carefully, it seems that it is not like a knock on a door, but a sound of hitting a wall. Also, the sound came from the bedroom. This is the sound of the bed hitting the wall. The sound of the mattress swaying sounded, without stopping for a while. Da-da-da, the sound of dull footsteps came, as if walking barefoot. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. The phone vibrated again, and another message came. "Why don't you wait for me in the bedroom? I came to see you." Han Yuman's heart tightened, a coolness ran straight into his forehead from the solace of his feet, and the whole person froze there. Who is in my room? Just now, who was knocking on the door outside? Has already come in? At this moment, Han Yuman only felt that his whole body was standing upright, and the inexplicable irritability and irritation had been washed away. Until now, her brain was awake. She wanted to run, but found that she couldn't move. She was frozen in place, she could only look forward with horror in her eyes, and she couldn't even make a sound. Rustling sound came, and her white cartoon pajamas gradually bulged, and there seemed to be an additional person inside. A cold grey hand stretched out from the loose collar, and touched her cheek along her neck. There was deathly silence in the room, and darkness struck in an instant, about to swallow everything here. At this time, boom! The anti-theft door of Han Yuman's house was violently kicked open from the outside. The entire door panel was twisted and deformed due to the huge force, and the moment it flew out, it stopped until it hit the opposite wall. He rushed in an instant. I saw his eyes gleaming. In this dark living room, it was like a lantern, and the corners of his mouth were cracked high, and it was difficult to conceal the joy in his heart. I didn't expect to see another ghost so soon. His face was full of excitement. "Hey! Ghost! What's the point of bullying a little girl? Come and play with me."